Now, actually, I had said I might have some stands of trees. Maybe I'll do more of a clump of trees around this area at the property line of this facility and leave this a little bit more clear. I might have a few individual trees, but let's do a leaf litter in this area. And for that, I have a mix that I call leaf litter that is partially fall foliage material, about maybe 25, maybe 30% of that, and the rest of it is actually a blend of some sawdust as well as old tea leaves. I just hang on to the tea bags after I've used them, and after that dries out, the tea leaves themselves give you a nice fine crushed material that works well for this purpose. Dried out by now. Go ahead and get this area all nice and wet. And let's sprinkle on some leaves here. And then around the edges here, about an inch wide, where sunlight would actually penetrate, we'll go back to having some actual grass in those areas. And you can see I'm getting some on the pavement area here. I'm gonna use a very soft, dry brush, keep that area clear. And I just keep changing up which colors I'm using. Alright, so now we'll come in here along these right-of-way edges, and then some other places we'll add some thicker growth. We'll just kind of randomly place clumps here and there. Again, of varying colors. This area in particular, I'm gonna have a lot of thick stuff growing. Don't be too concerned about getting it all perfectly placed, because once you add the glue, it's going to settle in however it wants to settle in. So here where the water would run down, we'll go ahead and put some little saplings that are trying to grow in there. And here behind the retaining wall. And again, let's let it rain. And get some glue on. Try to drop it straight on and let it soak all the way through. can see it start to fall in places and move around a bit. That's okay. It'll just find a place where it wants to live and just let it. Alright, so let's let that go. Let's move on to another section. Let's maybe work this direction because there's another little space here that I can work on. It's going to start to get tight in this area around the building. The building is, I think, removable, so I might want to pull that up first to make it easier to work back there. But that's all there is to it. You can see I've got little hair fibers everywhere, so after the glue is fully dried, we'll need to vacuum up this area pretty thoroughly. But other than that, I think we're good to go. And you can kind of see the area here where there'll be a lot of trees clumped around here, and that'll kind of break up the scene between the industry scene versus moving on to the main line, getting out here. And it's important to put those little view blocks, even though it's going to kind of block the view of trains up against this wall, it's going to give some interesting foreground shots where you're looking through the trees and seeing that condition. And then we'll have a little bit of a break here so we can still get shots focused that way. So just give some thought like that to how you're staging your scenery, and also kind of pay attention to where nature might want to grow certain things. The trees here, they would be on the edge of the industry property, so it makes sense that there's a clump there. Not having trees here might not make as much sense. That's why I was saying I might still poke one or two in the way there. But in terms of having a thickly forested area, that's going to be a prime spot. And I'll also have smaller trees that are growing on the sides of this cliff and up in here. Again, a clump of trees here is going to start to hide the buildings in the background, smaller trees in front of that. So I'm looking at getting glimpses through the trees of various scenes all through this area. And maybe I'll do another video showing planting of trees once we get to that point. But that's all for now for this area. And maybe I'll just turn the camera on and let it keep going as we go to the next section. So here's what we have. It's still wet, but you can see what the character is going to look like. And we may be coming in with some smaller, little 5 and 10 foot tall shrubs and trees and whatnot, and kind of placing them along this area in here. Like I might have some clumps of something standing up a little taller. This is just the very base layer. We'll just see where we want trees to grow, and obviously the big cluster of them in this area. And then as you look up the hill, another big cluster of them up here. Maybe 1 or 2 that are kind of in front of the house and hiding it, and a few scraggly ones hanging on for dear life to the edge of the cliff there. And then behind the house, you can see I've got that planned out for some thicker woods to blend in with the backdrop. Speaking of which, I do need to continue that backdrop painting along there. Maybe that'll be another video subject at some point. Working under the bridge is really tough. You might have seen me get in there with my finger to kind of move things around while it was wet. So my finger's dirty. I'll probably need to do the same under here, just because it's not easy to dribble on the glue. You kind of have to dribble on the glue to the outside here and then push it into place. But that's okay. And obviously the static grass can't really get in there. So that might be a good place to put some taller shrubs, small trees that might be growing under there to kind of mask the fact that we don't have grasses growing under there the way we do everywhere else. And so you can see we get some variety in the color, different colors. My static grass is mostly browns, actually. A lot of the green comes from the base layer that is under the grass blades. And what that gives you is it gives you the look of a browner grass viewed from the side and a bit greener from above. And if you look at a grass blade, especially wild grasses, that's what you get. You get the dead material is at the tips, and the green growing stuff is down at the base. And plus, if you look directly down, you can see those few patches. See if it'll focus, where the brown still shows through. More so in the area where I'm planting trees. That's not all totally covered. That, like I mentioned, that brown is going to affect the overall look of the scenery, and so that's why I prefer to do the ground goop as a layer beforehand. And you can see how that blends with the scene we have behind it there. Continue on. I need to do the rest of this mountainside up here, so there'd be some green growing around the exposed areas here, but then I've already got, you can see, some leaf foliage, because most of this is going to be heavily wooded. This is just going to be the very fringe of the woods in this area, so we'll be able to see a small amount of green growing up here, but it's going to be pretty thick trees on that side. And towards the very back here, we'll actually start to have some trees to hide where this road curves off and ends as well.